Hello and welcome to Teaching Through Repertoire, Sleigh Ride Edition by Leroy Anderson. I've got my friend Amie Jan doing the first and second violin parts as well as the viola part. She's made some tutorials as well as play-along tracks to help you get through this music. Now as you're practicing, remember, go slow to learn fast. Really understand what's on the page and how to do that successfully on your instrument. And then you can slowly work the tempo up until you're finally ready for performance. That's what these tracks are for. Remember that on YouTube you can adjust the tempo of the piece you're listening to by adjusting the playback speed. You can listen full speed, you can also listen to 75% or 50% of the original tempo. Okay, happy practicing. Remember, you're the success, and thank you for being your best selves. Enjoy, we'll see you at the end.
Hello, we are working on the first violin part for Sleigh Ride today by Leroy Anderson. Let's get started by looking at the key signature. We've got B flats and E flats. And let's look at the time signature. We've got that sign, which means cut time. That's another way to write a 2-2 time signature, which means there's 2 beats in a measure. And the half note is what we are considering to be a beat. So as we feel the beat, we're counting half notes. Here's our beat. And there's 2 beats in a measure. 1, 2, 1, 2. And that represents the half note, right? So that means quarter notes are twice as fast as that. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So those are quarter notes. Looking at the first 2 measures, in that tempo, it would be like this. 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, so that's the tempo we're going to kind of work at today while we're learning it. That's about half the tempo that of the real piece. So we are going to play through this first line to start with. I'm going to turn on my metronome. It's always a good idea to practice with a metronome to make sure that we're maintaining a steady beat. Okay, remember this is the half note. So we're counting 1 and 2 and. Ready? 1 and 2 and 1. 2 and 1. 2 and 1. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. Well, first of all, let's make sure that we're playing all our notes in tune, that you've got your low first finger for B flat, you've got your low first finger for F natural, you've got your low second finger for F natural on the D string, okay? And let's talk about your bow for a little bit. We should be in the lower half of the bow, where I like to call it the bouncy part of the bow, because when we're right here, and some people call it the balance point as well, because when you balance your bow, it's right about there is where your bow likes to bounce. So we want to try to get this kind of stroke where we're not pushing down. That's like a staccato, right? We want to let it ring a little bit. Let me put it in this angle so you can see how my bow is kind of, I'm allowing it to come off the string a little bit. And that works best if you are in the right part of the bow. It's super hard to do in the wrong part of the bow. So we want to stay here. That's going to give you that light sleigh ride feeling. Like when you're going on a sleigh ride, you're having lots of fun, you're bouncing around. So that's the kind of feeling that we want when we play this piece. Okay, so that covers the first line so far. Take a look at these notes right here. We've got Q notes. Those are tiny little notes, right? That means that you're not playing them. You're playing the bottom part here, which are rests. So you're resting while the flutes are playing these notes, and you get to follow along while you're resting. So the next time you play is the pickups to A. So let's now do the pickups to A. Let me move my music up a little bit so you can see. Looking ahead, I can already tell you this measure right here is one that we should look at. So let's look at that scale. It's just a scale, right? So this is why we practice scales. Let's start with F, B flat, low 2, D, 4th finger, low 4, right next to your 3rd finger for E flat, and then low 1 for F natural. Okay, putting it together. If that slur is giving you some trouble, a great way to practice that is stopping the bow after each note. So like this. Okay, and after a few times of doing that, you can smooth it out into the slur. Okay, looking ahead, we've got that same scale going up right there. I think that's going to take us all the way to B. So I'm going to turn on my metronome and we can practice this at our slow tempo together. Pickups to A. 1 and 2 and ready, go. 1. 2, 1. Okay, pickups to B. This is my suggested fingering. I like to start on the 3rd finger. That means we're in 4th position. So, to find where that 3 is, you might be more familiar with 3rd position. D, E, F sharp, G. That's your 4th finger, G, right? Well, we want our 3rd finger to be there. So I'm going to move it up. And once we do that, we're all set for the next few measures. Because we're going to stay in that position, I'm going to write in some things for you to help you too. So I like to write this symbol right here to tell me that those 2 notes are half steps. So G and F sharp are right next to each other. And then when we get to letter B, that's your high D. And if you just move over to the E string, it's right there already. We don't have to shift or change positions. Okay, so pickups to B, we have G, F sharp, G, G. Same thing again. And then 4, 2. Go over to the A string. And then 1st finger on the B. So whole thing is in 4th position. I didn't have to change positions. Going on, we've got our C sharp, B, G, E, G. And now we shift down to 3rd position to play that A. Okay? So it helps to know what our finger pattern is up here in 4th position. Our 2 and 3 is close together. So 2 and 3 close together on the A string and also on the E string. Okay? Did you notice my finger pattern didn't change? My 2 and 3 is our half steps. And then we go to the 3rd position for A. And the nice part about this next part, same exact fingerings, same pattern, except we've moved to 3rd position. So the F natural right here, 3rd finger. Okay, in third position, same finger pattern. 2 and 3 are your half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we've got Q notes again here, so we don't play these next 3 measures. And we don't play this downbeat right here. And then that takes us to letter C. Let's look at letter C. Now, I'll tell you right now, letter C is the same melody as back in letter A, right? It's this melody. But letter C is an octave higher. So if it's a little daunting for you to be up there that high, you can use A as an alternative. You can play letter A again instead of letter C, and it'll sound just fine. But if you want the challenge, and if you're up for it, I'm going to teach you how to do this high octave melody. So we are starting. What note is that? It's all the way up there, 3 letter lines up. That is an F, and I'm going to use my third finger to play it. I find my F by measuring. So here's D, E, F, my first finger on that F, and then my 4th finger will be on the octave higher than that, right? That's how I kind of spend, like the last 3 measures was a rest, right? So you'll see me use those 3 measures to kind of measure up like this. That's my little trick of how to get up there and staying in tune. So we start with F. I didn't change positions. I put 3rd finger on the A string. But now I do. After I play that, on the next line, I'm going to 3rd position. And now I shift up the A string, my first finger on G, and I play a scale up. Let's look at our finger pattern there. 2, 3 are half steps. E string, 1 and 2 are half steps. Now I shift down to get to my C sharp. And then the next part repeats itself again. Back up to F. Shift. Shift. Up the A string. Shift. Okay. Again, it's helpful to know where the half steps are, right? I'm going to mark those in for you. And those runs. Between A and B flat is a half step. Between D and E flat is a half step. Okay. I'm going to start at the pickups to C with our metronome so that we can have something to practice along with. Find your F. 1 and 2 and 1. Then we have a couple of bars of rest. These are Q notes. And now we are at letter D. Pickups to letter D. Make sure we're still in the lower half of the bow right here where it likes to bounce. We're starting piano. And by the way, this is Debussy, right? So you are picking one of those notes to play. And typically, when you're an orchestra, if you're an outside player, you play the top part, and if you're the inside player between you and your stand partner, you play the bottom part. So I'm going to do the top part first. I'm going to do this in third position. Notice we start at a piano and we crescendo up to forte, right? Now what happens when we crescendo, we tend to rush. Everybody tends to rush when we get louder. So you have to be careful to hold that tempo steady and not give in to that rushing. Let's look at the bottom part. The bottom part can stay in first position. And ends on an accented note on that forte. Let's look at the gliss that comes after that. Top note right here is a G glissing to an F sharp. So I'm going to use my first finger in second position to play G so I can slide down. Okay, and for the bottom part, if you're playing the E to the D, you would need to do that in third position. Because if you started on an open E, you have nowhere to go down, right? You can't gliss down. So you got to use your second finger right here and gliss down to a D. I mean, technically you can use any finger you want, but I find the second finger to be the most comfortable to slide down. Okay, then we keep going. Same thing. Don't rush. Here's our glissando. I'm doing third position if you're on the top, so that you can slide down from F sharp to E. The bottom part, you should start in third position on D and slide down to first position. Okay, going on. D sharp. Another D sharp. D sharp. I forgot to point out though, did you notice that the key signature changed? So before we had B flats and E flats, at letter D, we don't have those flats anymore, and instead we have F sharps. So we're in the key of G major now. Okay, in case you missed that. Okay, back to here where we ended. Look at this B right here where we ended. There's a crescendo going into that next note. So you want to go. So much fun. So the third position C to C sharp to D. And then we keep going. First finger on G. And all that is the same as before, right? Let's turn on our metronome and practice letter D. Pickups to letter D. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Lift. Lift. And that takes us to letter E. I forgot to mention before, but maybe you saw me do it. After we get to this top note, we need to do a circle with our bow so that we end, so that we can start a down bow again at the frog with an accent, sforzando. set the bow, and then pull. Right? Lift, set the bow, and pull. Okay. Going on, letter E. We start with just a D. We're in third position. Well, we ended in first position. Now we need to get to third position to play this next note. E flat, low 2. Now we need to get up to an F, back up to fifth position. So we just played an F right here. I need to get my first finger there, and then my fourth finger will be on that high F. And the nice thing here is once we get there, we stay there. Okay, we'll put in the fingerings for you so that it helps. 4. And that's all without shifting, right? Staying in the same position. Now we're on to BC again, so you can pick whether to play the top or the bottom. I'm going to go over the top part. And that takes us to F. Again, I didn't change positions. So, writing in all these fingerings to help you. This is your first finger on the A string, first finger on the E string. Just a bunch of 4s and 1s. Okay? Low part, you can just stay in first position. Notice we went back to our original key signature, B flat and E flat. Letter F. This part is fun because of the fun rhythms we have. Let's work out the rhythm. Usually when there's a tricky rhythm, I like to think of it in 4 so that we can really hash out what the rhythm is. So if we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1. Do that again. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1. Next thing I like to do is pluck it. Letter F again. 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. And then play it. 1, 2, ready, go. Next part, let's start at the F right here. Same process. 1 and 2 and clap and count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just that measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Because we've got a tie there on that C. Plucking would sound like this. 1, 2, ready, and go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. With your bow, it sounds like this. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Okay, the next part is similar as to what we were doing before. Let's talk about that G flat. So we had our C natural. G natural is just regular 3 right here, right? But G flat is a half step down, also known as F sharp. But it's going to be right next to your second finger, like a half step away, but down a string. And once you put those fingers down, you can just leave it down and let your bow do the work. Okay? So let's look at the top part. So we start with an F. We need our third finger on that F. Shift. 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 Same thing here. Put your third finger down, half step away from your second finger, but on the A string. Okay? With our metronome. I'm going to play the top part, but you can play top or bottom. 1 and 2 and ready and go. Next part. Similar with the fingerings, right? Back to F. Shift. D flat, so it's right next to your second finger. 2 and 3 are close together. Because the D flat's the same thing as a C sharp, right? These two are half steps. But make sure when you get to the G here, that 3 is on the A string higher. Okay, and then shift up a half step to make it an F sharp. G, B flat, and shift up, back to F. Looking at the lower part. Okay, I'm going to start back here on this F again, right here. 1 and 2. D flat. With our metronome, I'm going to start at letter F and go all the way to where we just stopped. 1 and 2 and ready and go. One and 2. Alright, if you got this far, you pretty much got the whole piece, because this next part is just a repeat of a previous section. Remember that? Where was that? That was back in letter B, right? So we've got the fingerings there for letter B. And so we don't have to talk about that. All that is the same. Pickups to H, again, familiar. Just like the beginning. Where it changes is right here at the end. So we have, where are we? I don't have measure numbers. Let's start right here. We've got that run. Rest, rest. Third position. then this next part, that's a cue note, right, for violas. We don't play any of that. The next time you play is the last note with grace notes. So really fast G and A at the frog. I'd like to recommend that you shift right here on the A string. Roman numeral 2 means you go up the A string, up to here. And then you can just stay with on your first finger. The reason why I like shifting early is because I like preparing for these high notes. Because if you wait until the end to shift, not only are you playing the scariest notes up there, but you're worrying about shifting at the same time. So I like to shift earlier, right here, and then prepare yourself, and you'll hit that high note a lot more confidently than waiting until the last second to shift. Okay, let's do this last section with the metronome, and then we'll be done. Let's start right at letter I. 1 and 2 and piano and go. Rest. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.